Reprieve as Eskom sticks with stage 4 power cuts for the rest of today instead of increasing to stage 6 as initially planned. Blackouts will then be reduced to stage 2 from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. for both Saturday and Sunday. While South Africa grapples with continued power cuts, wage negotiations between Eskom and unions resumed today. An improved wage offer has been formally presented at the Central Bargaining Council. eNCA reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones joins us now for the latest. Pule, what's the current developments from that meeting?
Well, it seems both unions, including NUMSA and NUM, who are currently discussing and having a meeting, which is at loggerheads with Eskom, may finally come to an agreement. And what we understand is that there's a couple of items which have finally been met, or rather issues that have been met by Eskom, which includes the conditioning of services, which we understand was withdrawn by Eskom earlier on but has now been reinstated. This item looks into issues of the standby allowance and, of course, overtime and other benefits that could work for the workers. We also understand that they have now also brought in, rather met the demand of the 400 Rand housing allowance. However, they have not met the items which speaks to the apartheid wage cap and, of course, the ex gratia payment of about 10,000 Rand. All of this information culminating together, we're getting from those who are close and who are at the meeting currently, who are telling us, or rather sharing that a bit of crucial insight, details of whether these unions are finally getting to a progressive status with Eskom, who we know have been in a meeting with him. But at the very same time, what we also understand is that unions have raised quite a lot of matters which they say that this was not supposed to have led to this point, and that there was a warning, and therefore that's why it led to an unprotected strike. Earlier on, we spoke to the General Secretary of NUMSA, and he shared very crucial sentiments about the meeting and what they believe should be done.
We met with Eskom, and then Eskom agreed to resuscitate the Central Bargaining Forum. As we were aware, Eskom declared a dispute, referred the matter to CCMA. We met with Eskom, and during the discussion, they agreed that the Central Bargaining Forum will be resuscitated. But I must be open and honest to say, workers from time to time, they get information. And what was even interesting in the previous sessions, it is Eskom itself that were giving out communique, that were talking with the guardians. They call the workers the guardians. Now, it is them that were giving the information that, with that information, then the workers started some protest. Now, we did not call for those protests, and I can't tell you whether those protests will continue or not continue, because we are not in the control of those processes. I'm sure you are aware that, yes, some of the workers went back to work, even though others were saying we are waiting for Friday. If Friday indeed they will table an offer, and then everything is fine. So probably that will have been a confirmation that indeed there is a progress. Obviously, they will take a view there. But that one is a process that we don't have a control. I don't want to say what is going to happen if we don't reach an agreement here. I don't know.
Pule, ordinary South Africans and business owners anxious for these issues to be resolved so that they can try and resume with some sense of normality. Is there any likelihood that the issue will still be resolved today? And if it is, are we likely to see a reduction from stage 4 to maybe stage 2, or even a dropping of load shedding altogether?
Definitely, this meeting is very crucial in a sense that it will also speak to the demands of the workers. It will speak to the nation at hand in terms of resolving this load shedding crisis. Perhaps maybe let me just step out of shop so my colleague Tamsanqa can show you a view of the General Secretary of NUMSA, Ivan Jim, speaking to some of the officials as well, who I believe have been crucial in this meeting regarding this meeting of the demands of the workers. Also came out clearly to say that these demands should be met, and also what's important that that we understand is that the issue of 7% has been brought to the table. This is what Eskom is bringing to the negotiations, and it's still quite interesting to see what the unions will be saying from here onwards as to whether they take all these proposed items that have been brought to the fore by Eskom. I tell you what, about 40,000 workers are waiting for these for this meeting to end to know whether they'll continue going to work or not. And of course, this will also speak to the issue of load shedding as to what happens next from here onwards, as this meeting has been ongoing since just about 9 a.m. We've been here since 6 a.m. We also witnessed police presence to ensure that no violence erupts here. And what we also, what you got to understand is that earlier on, it was a sensitive stage where the unions were accusing Eskom of taking a staggered approach, saying that they were not meeting their demands. But hours later, it seems as though there may be just a handshake between the two, and there may finally be a resolving pattern to these issues, which will add wide also speak to the issue of load shedding, which many have been encountering throughout the country.
Well, thank you so much, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, bringing us up that update. And of course, we are going to be speaking to NUM a little bit later at just after 6 o'clock. So do stay tuned for that discussion. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring you some kind of an update on whether an agreement has been reached or not.